Okay, I did not have the microphone plugged in, but I'm not going to go back and fix that. I apologize. The audio quality wasn't very good, but if you can't tell, I have some notes, but I do kind of shoot this from the hip a little bit, and I don't want to. I think what I've been gone over is good, and I don't want to miss any of that. So I apologize for the audio on that. Okay. So a consulting arborist, we just went over that. That's what you need if this is getting legal. Okay. What I'd like to do is set expectations for when you do hire an arborist. We have the different types. We've gone over that. But when you do hire an arborist, in general, we are all unique. I mentioned that. We're all different. We have different areas of study, and we've got different experience. It's best to find the arborist that's best for what you're looking for. Find one that you like. Find an arborist you like. I might be partial, but I think arborists are pretty cool. Arborists are a unique group of people. We've chosen to study trees, but we're all different. And some people, I know some arborists that are great, but they're really hard to work with. I know some arborists that are very friendly and wonderful, and I would not have them, but they're awesome to hang out with and talk to. My point here is that you want to find an arborist that you like working with, because like many things, like your eye doctor, a chiropractor, or a primary care physician, things whatever, are attorneys, mechanic, these people that we need in our lives that we go to for advice, it's generally a long-term thing. So find the arborist. Spend a little bit of time in the beginning to find who you enjoy working with, that is capable, is experienced in the areas that you kind of need, and honest. And sometimes we don't know the answer, and we need to refer you to someone else. You want an arborist that can do those kinds of things. So you found an arborist you like. You hire them to prune your trees. That's probably the most common reason to hire a certified arborist, which is a good idea. Oh man, I'm going to jump around. I'm sorry. I'm going to mention this before I forget. Speaking of pruning trees, you don't want to prune your own trees for the most part. If you're pruning something that's 8 feet and 10 feet and above, I wouldn't mess with it unless you have experience with it. Totally cool. If you got experience, you know what I mean. You're okay. You got it. But if you haven't pruned your trees or worked up to it, you don't want to be climbing a tree. You have no business grabbing a ladder. Nobody has any business generally grabbing a ladder and pruning a tree. It's not worth it. I got stories for too many things. I'll tell you one right now. I have a customer, or it wasn't mine, it was one of the arborists I worked with, gave a price on something. The neighbor talked to the prospective customer, and talked about how expensive it was, and they would help out and stuff. Anyway, that person went to help, fell while helping them prune their trees, broke their back, were in the ICU, and we got the call from the from the homeowner, because they got kind of partially through the pruning, and there's this tree partly down in the yard, and we needed to come finish it. I seriously don't think it was worth anyone to go hurt themselves and break their back to try to help. It was good intentions. It's not worth it, okay? I'm just saying. I've been a part of conversations that husband and wives, relationships and partners, who someone wants to prune the trees and someone doesn't want them pruning it. I've been in the middle of that, as I am very passionate about taking calculated risks. And I don't think pruning a tree, for the most part, and getting up on a high-pitched roof or climbing up in a tree with a saw or a chainsaw is worth the risk. It's worth paying someone to do it that does this on a very regular basis, that can do it in their sleep, okay? Don't prune your own trees if you don't have to. I'm serious. I'm telling you all this because I just want you to be safe. I'm not trying to bring you to a company I don't have anymore. I'm not trying to bring business to the ISA, Certified Arborist organization or anything. I'm just being honest. It's dangerous stuff, and it's do your job, do what you do well. If you're an accountant, do the accountant thing. If you're a pilot, fly. My chiropractor, I love my chiropractor. I have a great chiropractor. I talked to him about this because he was talking actually about pruning and removing one of his trees that had fallen. And I made my simple point. If he hurts himself, it's going to be very hard for him to work. And he had thought about it, but he really seemed to have thought about it after I mentioned it to him. serious. If you hurt yourself, how are you going to provide for yourself and work? So it's just not worth it. It's worth hiring someone. Okay, I went too long about that. And they love the work. They want the business. Okay, the arborist would love your business. So everyone wins. Another thing I'd like to set an expectation for is the pruning of your trees. When you meet an arborist who comes out and diagnoses and gives you recommendations, it's uncommon for the most part that particular arborist will be there to do the pruning. They usually don't. They might have tons of experience pruning, years of experience. But at a certain point, we get out of it because it's physical, it's for various reasons, okay? They might not, and are very likely not the ones doing the pruning. Ask them if it's important to you. If the person who comes out to meet you and talk to you about your trees, see if they're the ones up in the tree doing the pruning. I know some of the best arborists in the city. They do prune trees, and they're very rare. And they are in extremely high demand because they're so few. It's okay if it's not the certified arborist or it's not the one you meet that's up in that tree. I do think it's best that a certified arborist is up in the tree pruning, okay? But it might not be the one you meet. The one you meet has a lot of experience, and you have to be able to drop that certified arborist into almost any circumstance, and they need to be able to answer questions, and that takes a long time. Pruning, we can choose who goes out to what jobs because we know what that job entails, and we can say this crew over here is best for this, and they can go there. This crew is best for that, they're going over there. So the certified arborist that you meet with might not be the ones up in the trees pruning that day. Ask them if it's important to you. Another thing, that certified arborist might not even be there on the day that the work is done. They might not show up at all. And here's why, okay? I've dealt with this too. It's not that they don't want to be there or that they don't care, but we train the climbers extremely well. A lot of time and effort's put into them climbing and pruning so that we can have the standards of service and the quality of work that each company wants, that it can be done. And we can't babysit them all day long. It's not practical. The other thing that's a big one is we have a lot of places to be. As a certified arborist that's helping assess trees and writing proposals and things like that, we have to go to sometimes 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 properties in a day. That's really hard to do. I did not like that. Okay. We can't line out. That's kind of the term that's generally used, lining out a crew. We can't generally line out a crew when we're going all over the place. Those jobs, we can have 2, 3, 4, 8 crews at a company, and they are all starting at a certain time in the morning, and that arborist that you've met can't be at everyone's job site in the morning. I tried, and it ran me nuts and crazy because I tried to line out as many jobs as I could, and it drove me nuts. It's too much. You can't do it. So they might not be there because there's a job in south part of town, one in north. They both show up in the morning at the same time. That arborist has to choose which job to be at for that time. And certain jobs take different times than others. So one job might take an hour, one might take 8, one might take 4. They can't be everywhere they want to be. That's what I'm saying. I went a little too long on that as well. It's not because they don't care. It's not because they're being selfish. I mean, maybe, but most part that's not the case, okay? They want to be there. They want you to feel confident with who's doing the work. They just can't be there all the time. If it's really important to you, and I totally understand that it's important to you, I 100% get that. If it's really important, you must talk to that arborist and tell them it's part of the deal. If you want them to be there, it's a deal breaker. If you cannot be there to line the crew out, I want you to be on the job site when they start. If you need them to be there all day long, it's totally your right, and you can absolutely have that. You can. If you want that, you can find that. Tell them that, though. It's not fun to find out or assume or think that someone's going to be there and they're not even there, or they're not there all day long. That's kind of what I'm saying. So just ask them. Arborists want to tell you the truth. For the most part, I mean, I'm talking like the large majority of arborists that I've known and met, they're very honest people. they're not trying to cheat you out of money. So just ask them. That's the thing, though. You might not have known to ask them that. That's why I'm here. I want to help. Ask them if they're going to be doing the work. If they're not going to do the work, are they going to be there to line the crew out? And if they're not, see how they're going to make sure that the job is done right. Okay, I hope that helps right there. So setting expectations is important for you to communicate that with your arborist and for your arborist to communicate that with you. They need to kind of be able to tell you what to expect. And I would love to talk about this more. This is why I love what I'm doing here. I love this, but I do need to keep these videos shorter for your sanity, because I don't want to run on and on. So in summary, trees need our help. They aren't trees in the urban environment. If you've got a yard and grass and a house that's within 150 feet of a tree, they need help. They need an arborist. They need a certified arborist to kind of help prune out deadwood so they're not dangerous. And basically, if they're in the urban environment, they need additional help than those out in the forest. Don't prune if you can avoid it. Don't prune your trees yourself if you can, particularly if it's over 8 or 10 feet, which after one reason cost of an arborist and a legit tree company cost more is the insurance. Insurance companies, when they start mentioning 8, 10 feet, 10 to 12 feet for sure, and they're going above that, their insurance companies say, no, we don't want you, or we'll take you, but it's going to be really expensive. And these companies must have insurance. They have to. There's different levels of insurance, but they have to have insurance. So it's expensive. It's extremely expensive. This is a high-risk, dangerous industry. So that's one thing that adds to the cost. And workers' comp, most companies don't have workers' comp, okay? They don't. If it's important to you, understandably, if someone gets hurt on your property, that worker, someone could come and sue you for the medical bills if the owner of the company isn't keeping them properly insured. This isn't normal ever, hardly ever I've never even heard of that happening once that I have anything to do with whatsoever, but I know it happens. So workers' comp might be something you want if you're worried about that. If it's a commercial property, insurance coverage is very different. Once a company wants to work with the state or the city, their insurance stuff goes up. Anyway, so it certainly adds to the cost of some of these companies. Insurance is expensive. If they're staying 10 feet, 12 feet and under, then the insurance is less. That's where you get into landscaping. Landscaping, that's why they'll stop at about 10 feet, maybe 12 on the high end. They won't go higher than that because their insurance doesn't allow it. If anything happens, they're not covered. Just saying, this stuff can be under strange, unique situations, can end up being a very big deal. Another thing to recap is construction. If you're going to have construction done, see what the construction company is planning on doing. Get expectations from the tree company. And that's so yeah, that's kind of a lot of information. I swear I have a hard time condensing this down. Please ask me questions in the comments. I want you to. It will help me because I could talk forever about any one of these topics. I can't. I don't want to bore you, or I don't want to bore someone who's not interested in certain things. That's why this is important stuff. That's why I'm putting it out there. In closing, what I'd like to do with this is, after each video, I would like to leave with something that I'd recommend for you to do if you would be willing to consider it. That would make a difference. On this video today, I would like to suggest that you get a notepad and a pen or pencil. Write down some questions you have about trees. You can write them down in my comments. I would like them. But at least write them down on a sheet of paper. And then find the link, contact an ISA certified arborist, and ask them some questions over the phone. Maybe go ahead and schedule an appointment with one. But certainly have some questions that you're curious about. Doesn't matter what it is. How long does your tree live? What types of trees do you have in your yard? Any of that. These are good, legit questions. Write them down and then call someone. See if they can answer some of them over the phone, or schedule an appointment. That's what I'd like you to do. Meet with at least one arborist, maybe 2 or 3, okay, if you want. I don't think you should be meeting with more than 3 or 4. If you are and your answers aren't being answered, something's wrong. We need to talk about that. So that's what I'd like you to do, is to contact an arborist, an ISA certified arborist, ask them a few questions, and go outside and just look at your trees for a few minutes. Just go outside, grab some coffee, grab a beer, grab some wine, water, just grab a little drink. Spend some time, quiet time, and go look at them. Notice what's going on. Does anything look out of the ordinary? Or how beautiful they are. They're absolutely magnificent. I've never, ever, ever seen an ugly tree. There's not an ugly tree. There flat out is not an ugly tree. There are trees with character. And I've had customers say their trees are ugly. Hurts my feelings a little bit, because I don't think they're ugly. They have character. Some trees they're kind of going through hell. Twisted, torn up, yanked around. And they don't have that perfect little look that we see in movies sometimes. Sometimes they are gnarly. I think that's cool. Go look at your trees. Kind of see the character they've got. Look at what's going on around them. Are there birds flying around? Are there little animals hopping around? Just look at them for a moment. Just be quiet and look. Get to know your trees. They're very wonderful. Notice the difference in the temperature if you're in the sun or you're in the shade. Walk around them 360. Go around your tree 360, 100%. All go around, not one side. You want to go all the way around the whole tree, okay? That's where some things can be missed. So do that if you don't mind. If you do these things, we are going in the right direction. I hope this helped. It was really long. I'm so sorry. I'm going to really work on that so that they're not as long as this. But this one's important. They're all important. Everything that we go over is important. I have a tendency to talk too much. You'd be surprised how little I talk when I'm not interested in something. I hope that helps. Please post some questions in the comments. Anything at all, I'd love to help you. All right? Y'all have a great week, and I look forward to making the next video, and I'll make it shorter and to the point. Okay? All right. Bye-bye.